Hello and welcome to another episode in my homebrew journey. Okay, so today I'm doing a short and shoddy brew, but first, before we get going, I'm on the old Instagram and I'm on the old YouTube, and this video is being posted on my personal channel because, quite frankly, no bugger from there is subscribing to the Homebrew Journey channel. So if you're seeing this on my personal channel, go to Homebrew Journey and give it a like, give it a subscribe, and you too can fall asleep to videos that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. So anyway, like I was saying, today I've only got a couple of hours, so I'm going to do a short and shoddy, which basically means cut out all the rubbish from the brew process and cut the times down. So I'm going to do a 30-minute mash, and I'm going to do a 30-minute boil, and I'm going to use minimal equipment. So if you're pretty new to this, here is some of the equipment that you can get away with making a beer with. So aside from the pan with me filtering, which I'll show you in a second, this is all I've got for my brew day. So all I've got is I've got a big old jug there to put your water in and get it from tap into me boil kettle. There's me grains, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Here I've got a little bit of a pH buffer which helps the enzymes and all that sort of nonsense, keeps the water in the right place. I've got my refractometer there, which will tell me how much sugar I'm getting out of my grains. Then I've got my hop spider over here, which will put my hops in during the boil. And then towards the end of the boil, I've got some Whirlfloc there, some Whirlfloc there, which just sort of messes about the proteins and stuff. And other than that, all you need is a big pot like this one, with a bit of a bag in it and a bit of thermometer, and you're good to go. You can ignore this because I'm not using that today. Usually I put a pump on it, but you can ignore all that. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 little things. Probably cost you 60 quid to get it going, and you're ready to brew. Okay, so for this brew, like I say, it's only short and shoddy, so what I'm going for is my British Golden Ale, which I did some time back, and I can't remember quite what I said on the tasting video, but in the end I didn't like it, so I'm going to do it again. So basically, here's the recipe. Very simple. 1 kilo of German Pilsner malt and 50 grams of flaked wheat in 9 litres of water. Then I'm going to mash as close to 64 as I can get, as close to 64 degrees as I can get, for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to lift the grains out, let them drain, and then we'll get the boil going. And then at 30 minutes I'm going to put 10 grams of East Kent Goldings in, and then at 10 minutes I'm going to put 10 grams of East Kent Goldings hops in, and then 50 minutes from the end of that, so halfway through the boil, I'll put in some Whirlfloc. So the stats it gives me for this then, so the OG is 1043 with a final gravity of 1010, ABV of 4.4, IBUs 35, which is quite high really, because well, it's in the middle of the range for the American Pale Ale, the Amber British Golden Ale, but it's still quite high that. But the SRM's really pale 3. So that's banging style for a British Golden Ale. Anything else I need to that I'm using yeast wise, I'm going to use Safale SO4, which is an English strain, an English ale yeast, and that's basically it. So I'm hoping this can get done in under 2 hours. The time is 5:51 in the evening. It's now 5 to 6, 17:55 in the evening, and my water is at 68 degrees, so I'm going to get mashing in. Okay, so it's 6 o'clock and we're 5 minutes into the mash, and here are the BJCP guidelines for the British Golden Ale, which is 12A in their guidelines. We've been through this before in another video. I'll put the thing up here, you'll see there. So the overall impression is a hop forward average strength to moderately strong pale bitter. Drinkability and refreshing quality are critical components, which is good. So hop aroma moderately low to moderately high. Well, I've got 20 grams of East Kent Goldings, so sort of moderate-ish 5% alpha acid kind of hop really, so not getting too much out of it. Floral, herby and earthy English hops are most common. Single hop variety will be showcased, so East Kent Goldings. Appearance is straw to golden in colour, like the last one was. It was really, really pale, just tasted horrible. Medium to medium high bitterness. And hop flavour is moderate to moderately high, although citrus flavours are increasingly common because that's using New World hops, which I'm not using. Malt character is medium to low. You may get some breadiness in there, maybe a biscuity flavour, Jacob's crackery kind of thing. Some sweetness and caramel flavours are typically absent though. Hop bitterness and flavour should be pronounced. Mouthfeel is light to medium. Low to moderate carbonation, although that's on draft, and I remember this on bottled versions it'll be slightly higher. Well, mine wasn't. Well hopped, quenching beer with an emphasis on showcasing hops, served colder than traditional bitters. This style was originally positioned as a refreshing summer beer, but is now often brewed year round. Well, I'm brewing it for the summer because it is May the 6th today, so I'm brewing it for the summer, trying to get some stuff for the summer going. And that's basically it. If you want to see a proper in-depth view of that, you can go to the old Amber Ale, British Golden Ale video, which is posted before, and you can get all your interesting stuff there. So, back onto the brew day. Right, it's now 6:27, and I've just taken a bit of a reading with the refractometer, so it's been going for 32 minutes. I'll give it a proper good stir. And my pre-boil I'm looking for was 10:30. This one is currently at 10:23. So I'm getting about 60% efficiency here. So if you are doing short and shoddy, don't expect 75-80% efficiency, which is what I've been having with the bigger batch and the double pump and all the nonsense. But I'll get some decent beer out of it. I've managed to keep the temperature at 64 okay. I'm just going to give it another 10 minutes. 15 minutes, see what happens, and then we'll carry on with the shortish and shoddy brew day. Okay, so that's 45 minutes. I'm now at 10:27, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain the grains, leave it to drain for 10 minutes, and get the boil on the way. The time is 20 to 7. Okay, it's 5 to 7 and we're on to the boil now. I've just transferred over. What I will say is, because my pre-boil was 10:27, I messed about in my brewer's friend and I ended up with 60% efficiency, which isn't too bad really. But stats now, OG of 1040, FG of 1009, alcohol is 4%, IBU's 35, and colours, SRM colours are 3, so everything's slightly down. But otherwise, it's still banging style, and you know, so far everything's going reasonably well. Tons less cleaning, tons less stuff to put away and move around, and it's actually quite fun. I'm finding actually I've got more time to do stuff than when I've got all the big pots and all the pumps and all the nonsense going. So yeah, let's get her on the boil. Okay, the time is now 20 past 7, so that took ages to get to a boil, but it's boiling nicely. 10 grams, East Kent Golding, 30 minutes. Okay, so one of the big problems with the short and shoddy brewing is that there's a bit of a compound called DMS, or dimethyl sulfide, and it's some chemical nonsense, and what you need to do with the boil, which is why we boil for an hour, is to drive the precursors to that DMS off, because the DMS apparently tastes like corn. Now, I've never had that, but apparently it's a big thing, and people worry about having short boils because it doesn't drive off these precursors to DMS, that when you put it in the fermenter it then creates this creamed corn kind of flavour. So this should be an interesting experiment. 30 minutes. It's quite a vigorous boil, so that should drive off. It should drive off most of these sort of precursors to this horrific compound that we're trying to get rid of. But we'll only find out in the tasting. Okay, so we have 15 minutes to go. And here is my end of a teaspoon's worth of whirl flock, and that goes in. Give it a bit of a stir. Another 5 minutes, and then I'll add my last 10 grams of East Kent Goldings. I'll see you in kitchen sink to cool her down. Okay, so I've had a 45-minute boil there, and the best I could do is I got it to 10:35. So I'm going to quit there. It was supposed to get to 10:40, but I've got to 10:35. So what I'm going to do now is get on with cooling it down, and like my last brew, my Czech amber lager, I'm going to leave it in the boil kettle, so that'll cut out another half hour of messing about with demijohns and siphons and stuff. So I'm just going to get it cooled down, and then I'm going to put a sanitised lid on her, and then put her somewhere quiet and leave her to ferment with the Sapale SO4 yeast. So let's get her down to 20 degrees quick as we can. Right, so that's us at pitching temperature. The time is 8:13, so says Alexa through there. The time's 8:13. Started this at about 10 to 6, so 2 hours 25 minutes from setup to yeast. And all I'm going to do is pitch some yeast, and then I'm going to star sand my pan lid, which is just over there, and then put the pan lid on. And I'm not going to cover it. It's got a little hole in the top of it. I'm not going to cover it. I'm going to put her under upstairs in that there brewery, and hopefully we'll get a sort of 3.5%, maybe 4% beer. So positives, 2.5 hours ain't too bad. It doesn't take a lot of time out of your day. It's easy to clean up, minimal mess on there because there's no pumps or any nonsense like that. I think I've got a little bit more wort here than I would do normally if I was pumping. I think that's because I only used 1 kilo of grain with the usual 9 litres of water. If I had a bit more grain, I think I would have got higher numbers. So I might just go back to my 1.25 kilos of grain if I do another short and shoddy, just to help boost the numbers. I think that's one of the things, you have to sacrifice your efficiency for your time. So, you know, if I'm willing to spend 4.5, 5 hours on a brew day with all the pumps and stuff, I'll get 75%, 76%. But if I'm not, and I only want to do 2.5 hour quick brew, I might get a little bit more, but I'll waste 40% of the sugars. So I'll only get 60% efficiency. Negatives, so I'd like to say, efficiency's down. But otherwise, is there any other negatives? I don't think there is, really. It's not a bad way to brew. We'll see if it's a negative when we do the tasting video. But you know, for now, just about to pitch my yeast and stick her understairs in that there brewery, and that's it for another brew day. So you can catch up with me on the old YouTube and on Instagram. The Homebrew journey for both of those. If you're watching on my personal channel, please subscribe to Homebrew journey. And just get my numbers up. I want more than 13. It's unlucky 13. Come on, I need 14. Otherwise, you know, it's usual sort of nonsense, really. That's already starting to clear up. Usual sort of nonsense, really. You can like and you can subscribe, and you can leave a comment if you're so inclined. I've not thought of a name for beer yet. Twinkles, Shoddy or something like that. I don't know. We'll give it a name when I get it uploaded onto YouTube. Look out for the tasting video. But for now, that's it. And you know, why don't you go out and get a bit shoddy?